What job is 100 undervalued and underpaid? Dental lab techs. Those people work very hard, and it's also a very hard job on your body. They're out there making teeth, for God's sake. The job is, quite literally, where art skills meet dentistry. And they're shouted at by dentists all day long. They take so much abuse. And a lot of the time, it's for things that were completely out of their control. Can you imagine having a job where you're giving people a smile? You make someone a denture, you can change their life, and then being shouted at by doctors, dental assistants, front desk people. Still nurses, and probably will be until the end of time. I'd also put firefighters up there too, but I think they get a lot more support from the community and just people in general. Probably because it's harder to have a bad experience with a firefighter, like no one says, man, that guy was a complete asshole while putting out the fire that was engulfing my entire house. But you can easily find people who can say, oh, I had a nurse who treated me horribly, so I think it's probably easier for people to not give a fuck about them. Most normal people's jobs at the moment are underpaid, but I think the most undervalued are the ones that take specialized skills like EMTs, and teachers. Other people have mentioned cooks, chefs, janitors, etc. I think these are underpaid but not undervalued, as they are very easy to get into and don't require any particular knowledge, anyone could do them basically. Don't mean to be disrespectful, but there are differences to jobs. We should respect all, but they're not all created equal. I think most skilled labor is undervalued. ATM, entry-level jobs made a huge leap in the last few years. You can start out at most fast food places making $15 an hour. So when you compare that to what the average electrician makes, it's not enough of a gap to justify the training you need to do. On the other end of the spectrum, CEO salaries rose 40% over the same period of time, largely due to inflation and undervalued skilled labor. So the middle class continues to get squeezed from both ends. People who provide services to people who provide services to us. Like the custodians at hospitals cleaning up the ORs. All those jobs get all the crap, none of the sympathy, and hardly any pay. Without them the whole system breaks down, but nobody even thinks about them. Me included. I always thank the doc, nurse, PAIC when I visit, but never even think about the person who cleans up all that crap after we all leave. The idea that teachers have to deal with children for 8 hours is crazy. And then you add that it's multiple children, sometimes up to 30 kids. Then there's parents who don't like that their kid isn't up to their standards and the teacher is blamed. Plus, you can't even discipline kids anymore without the fear of being recorded and losing your job. No wonder teachers are quitting their jobs at such a record rate. Any service industry job. While I agree we're not the most undervalued, I think we might be in the running for underpaid. At least delivery drivers. The delivery fee is not part of our pay. We get paid less than minimum wage, get tipped less than waiters at a restaurant most times, and we get paid pennies per mile for the gas we use to get to your house. Definitely don't get paid enough to cover our gas, claims adjusters. They deal with people at their absolute worst and basically have to argue all day every day for not nearly enough pay. It's insanely stressful and not worth it when your department is chronically understaffed and unappreciated by both your clientele and the company you work for. No work-life balance, and the vast majority are just stuck in that discipline after so many years. Medical residents. In some places they get paid less than minimum wage based on how many hours they have to work. They are usually in tons of debt, and most places will pay them between 55–65K, give or take a couple of thousand depending on the cost of living in that area. With taxes and all, they take home very little, and for the duration of their training some of them struggle to make ends meet. Veterinary technician. Animal nurses who have to know as many skills as a human nurse, for multiple species that will scratch and bite, and who can't tell you where it hurts. Radiology, dentistry, blood draws, diagnostic testing, pharmacy, anesthesia, surgery, emergency critical care, etc. Wages at animal hospitals in my area range from $16 to $24 an hour, based on my recent job hunt. Teachers. The in it for the long haul teachers are now retired, and most new teachers quit in their first few years. They're disrespected, underpaid, and mistreated by students and parents alike. There's no good reason to be a teacher in 2023, especially when you have students pushing you to your breaking point so that they can record your outbursts for some TikTok fame. Crossing guards. I'm not even sure if they are paid, but getting up at the crack of dawn and standing outside in the bad weather just to make sure kids don't get run over while trying to get an education. Completely undervalued. People drive crazy when trying to get to work in the morning. I never appreciated it as a kid, but it's actually very cool of them to do. Construction laborers, usually minimum wage, have to do most of the hard strenuous work that takes a toll on their bodies after a while, and oftentimes work in dangerous situations and with hazardous materials. Usually only the journeymen on construction sites make good money, the rest are fairly low-paid apprentices depending on the trade and laborers. Unpopular opinion: the bar to become an EMT is low. HS diploma and a few months of training. It doesn't lessen their importance, but it certainly makes them easily replaceable. We should all be so lucky to have a seasoned EMT take care of ourselves or a loved one during an emergency, but the business side of medicine doesn't value experience. Teachers, fire rescue for sure, but also anyone who keeps the lights on, makes the toilets flush, or takes the trash away. Garbage men aren't looked at favorably at all in society, but man, am I glad they show up every week. I'm grateful for folks who do jobs like that. Society needs them and needs to give them credit, compensation accordingly. Refs at a non-professional level. Even professional one are underpaid. Toxic parents and attitudes while people play, it's disgusting what they have to deal with. As someone who plays sports but has also refed as a kid growing up until I was 19, I have empathy for refs that isn't often displayed by the players or viewers. Most blue-collar work these days, TBH, including nurses, paramedics, traveling biomedical engineers, oil workers, electricians and general land maintenance. All of their operational costs have increased, and their labor is highly skilled but not compensated even close to the certification requirement costs. Many more like them. The care sector. They're run ragged, cleaning up human waste, caring for people with incredibly challenging needs, juggling multiple different roles and workloads, receiving varying levels of abuse, and working long and grueling shifts. Yet they're still considered unskilled workers and are receiving low pay as a result. Bus drivers and teachers. Your kid spends the majority of their days with them, and then the bus drivers that everyone ignores, pulls out in front of, or just is driving unsafe next to the vehicle that carries the majority of your kids. But if it crashes, it won't be the rude driving person's fault, it'll be the bus driver's. Depends where you are. Here in Canada, paramedics, EMTs are massively underpaid, as well as pretty much every job in the childcare industry. Oh, and most university and college teaching positions. All minimum wage jobs in any major city here are underpaid. In most US states, educators are woefully underpaid. Nursing assistants and home health aides. These are the people taking care of our elderly, and they're lucky to make $10 an hour. Not including driving time. Nurses get a lot of respect, but the people making sure grandma is bathed, fed, and turned to prevent bed sores are the assistants. Delivery drivers and fast food workers. Everyone makes fun of those jobs, but the second the drive-thru gets slow BC of lack of employees, people demand more poor folks to work these shit jobs for no pay. Tip your drivers well and be patient when you get food from chain restaurants. Mechanics. I am not one, but I see so many TikToks calling out the industry. Many underpaid techs who are on the hook for their own several $1,000s worth tools, plus customers with unrealistic expectations and service managers who push the techs to do things quickly. Grad student teachers. We're paid significantly under minimum wage for literally teaching entire classes. Universities couldn't run without grad students. My school doesn't have a union, so I'm here getting paid jack to do more than most tenured professors. It's ridiculous. Nursing home workers. My dad is in one and is pretty vocal about how much he hates it and hates my mom and I for conspiring with the doctors to out him in there. Even though he yells awful things to them, they are never less than patient and professional with him. EMTs, paramedics. The medical companies get all of the money people pay for the exorbitant treatment costs, and then these traumatized EMTs are left keeping themselves together. Those people should unionize already, because what they make is criminal. Work in pharma is lead quality assurance, basically making sure the FDA, our customers, don't sue us and products don't harm customers, and I make just under 30. Nearly every job though should be making about 10 an hour or more at the current cost of things. Sad part is my mom has been working for 20 years with special education children as a one-on-one and she gets paid less than me, and I work in the same school district as her as a secretary and get paid more than her, and all I do is desk work. It's sad. I got paid a measly $11 an hour to cut the club, make the hole on the most famous par 3 on the PGA Tour during a tournament that brings in hundreds of millions of dollars to a billion-dollar company. So I would say that one at least. Lol. Sewage workers. I knew a guy that worked in sewage and sanitation, and from all the shit pun intended they have to go through in just one day, I mean, let's just say let's hope they never go on strike, because a lot would go wrong very quickly. Aircraft maintenance engineers, airplane mechanics are responsible to keep airplanes flying in a safe condition. Literally, the safety and lives of all passengers rely on the effectiveness of aircraft maintenance being performed properly. Paramedics and EMTs get paid barely above minimum wage in some places. I ended up letting my certification lapse and moving on to a different job after about 7 years because it was too much stress and responsibility for the money. Mechanic. Spend far north of 75k to buy your own tools for a job that pays 50k a year, and then every cocksucker out there wants you to fix their shitkin for fucking free. Or they at least expect a discount. Eat shit, motherfucker. Anyone who works in a burn unit. When I was in the hospital, I had a friend in the burn unit for a while. On the rare occasion I was able to visit, that was honestly one of the most horrific and depressing places I have ever been. Truck drivers. Everyone hates them because they are slow and in your way, but without them our nation would grind to a halt. Low pay, long hours and predatory practices due to many immigrants wanting to better themselves. Community-based doctors. Most don't realize that doctors in the community have to pay enormous overhead, 25-35% of their earnings. There is constant underfunding of healthcare, and the pressure to do more is always there. Librarians. They are fierce defenders of our right to read and access information, and they're now in the crosshairs of the Trumpist wackadoodles who are determined to ban any book that makes them clutch their pearls.